So in this module, what is personality type? We're now moving into our second lesson about the functions. And in this lesson, we're going to talk about the function of decision making. It's titled The Functions, Decisions, Decisions. Boy, we sure do make a lot of them in the course of the day. So this may be one of the most misunderstood functions. The two preferences are T for thinking and F for feeling. And part of the misunderstanding about this preference pair is that the common usage of feeling tends to be that people who are feeling decision makers are emotionally driven and therefore not rational or logical. Spoiler alert, that's not what it means in this context. So we want to pay close attention. Feeling decision makers are not chaotically over emotional. They really are interested in harmony and how decisions influence a group, where the T's are interested in objective, rather dispassionate, logical analysis in making decisions. So let's move on and let's see how we differ in making those decisions and let's combine data gathering and decision making to see how those two functions might work together.
Let's start with an experiential exercise to explore thinking and feeling decision maker differences. Here we go. You are the leader of a team of 20 people. Your business has begun to slow temporarily as a result of a global recession. Within the next 6 months, you will have to reduce the number of people on your team from 20 to 16. How might you make this decision? Take quick notes, pen and paper, on your computer, but just make notes about how you'd go about making this decision. What would you like to know, and what decision rules would you use? And once you've done that, we'll compare notes and see how your preference for decision making might be either a T or an F, and I'll share some results from prior classes at the University of Maryland to give you an idea of how this shapes up. So here are the results, and I'm using some results from my class at the University of Maryland, but see which of these two lists is most similar to your own. So the thinking decision makers are likely to ask questions like this, and these are the decision rules they are most likely to use. Who are my best performers? Who are the worst? Who has the longest tenure? What are the rules for reductions in staff? What's the fairest way to let people go? Are there severance package details? What notice is required? Should they be let go and leave the same day? What's our policy on that? Is there health insurance continuance? If your list is similar to this, very objective, somewhat dispassionate, then you might be a thinking decision maker. On the other hand, if your list sounds like this, you might be a feeling decision maker. Here's what feeling decision makers sound like. Boy, this could really badly affect team morale, both those who stay and those who are let go. And frankly, we've got a great team right now. Everyone's doing a pretty good job. The downturn, it's going to be temporary. When business picks up, we'll need everybody again, and it's going to be hard to keep everybody happy while we go through this reduction in staff. I wonder if everyone would be willing to reduce their hours and pay just for a short time to keep the team together and keep it working as well with such high morale as it has right now. So which one might you be? And remember, I'm making these very starkly different. In real life, people are a little more complicated, but I just want to tease out the differences here between thinking and feeling decision makers. Now that we've experienced the differences between thinking and feeling decision makers, let's review what Myers-Briggs says about these two decision-making styles. Let's start with thinking. Thinking decision makers tend to make decisions based on logical analysis. They focus on being very objective, and they're somewhat detached. They tend to take a long-term view. They see things as an onlooker, not as a close-in participant. They're very good at spotting flaws, and they can state them rather bluntly. They're able to reprimand or fire people, And they believe fairness and justice are really important. The downside is that thinking decision makers may seem very cold and condescending, particularly to feeling decision makers. Remember, this is a black and white description. We people in practice are much more complicated. Now, feeling decision makers tend to make decisions based on personal or social values. They're logical, but the logic is more internally and subjectively based, and they focus on understanding the people and creating a harmonious situation. They take immediate and personal views of situations, and they like to show appreciation and caring for others. They have great difficulty telling people unpleasant things, and they believe relationships and harmony are very important. To thinking decision makers, they may seem altogether too emotional.
Hi, I hope you're enjoying this free lesson from the University of Maryland's Project Management Center for Excellence. If you want to check out more lessons just like this one, click the link in the description below where you'll be able to go to our website on executive project management. There, you can find edX courses, professional short courses where you can learn from an instructor like me, as well as request custom team training for you and your organization. All right, let's get back to the lesson and I'll see you at the end.
It's a time for a story. And here's the title of the story. You know you are an F, a feeling decision maker, when. Now, this may be a funny story to some of you, but maybe not if you're an F. Do let me know. But it's been true in my observation. So one of the ways I can assess, just as a type watcher, whether or not someone is likely to be an F decision maker is to ask them this question. Ready? So the question is, do you ever stay late to complete work that is really somebody else's job, but you feel really badly about making them stay themselves to do it, and that they could be one person or a team of people who just aren't ready to make the deadline? Now, in my experience, the T's as decision makers are likely, their preference and their clear preferred action is to tell people what to do, how to do it, and have them stay and get the work done. And if they're not happy about it, yeah, well, they're objective and analytical decision makers, those T's. But F's may recognize themselves here because they may tend to let themselves be taken advantage of if they're too kind about this. And they may be the one who stays late and does the work to make sure it's done on deadline, but doesn't ask the rest of the team to stay because they don't want to cause hard feelings. Do you Fs recognize yourself there? If so, channel your inner T and flex into that preference when necessary.
Just as we found with S's and N's in data gathering, thinking and feeling decision-making styles have different processes for making the decision. We're going to take a quick look at the decision criteria, where they focus in the decision-making process, the strengths of their decision-making process, and importantly, potential weaknesses in their decision-making processes. Here we go. So thinking types tend to make decisions using logic and objectivity. They appear very detached, where feeling types tend to make decisions based on personal values. Thinking types focus on their decision process without taking emotions into account, while the feeling types prefer to focus on harmony within the full group. The strengths of the thinking decision style is that they analyze situations very well and they concentrate on what people are thinking. Feeling decision types, the strengths of their style is that they understand people and their viewpoints very well, and they concentrate on responding to people's feelings. Potential weaknesses exist on both styles. So for the thinking decision-making types, the potential weakness is that they may ignore people's feelings because they are very task-focused, and frankly, they may not have group harmony as a goal at all. The feeling decision style, on the other hand, also has potential weaknesses. They may overlook people's objective thoughts, and they may overcompensate personally to preserve harmony.
So let's take a minute for story time and let's consider the value of both and thinking. Let's go back to our reduction in force example for a minute. Which of these approaches is correct? The thinking or the feeling? Actually, both could be correct in specific circumstances. Is the decline in fact temporary? How cohesive is the team? How valuable is it to keep the team together? Are there any underperformers where this would be a great opportunity to let them go and find a place where they're better suited to do the work? How hard will it be to rehire people if in fact it's temporary? What's the loss of implicit knowledge worth to the company? There are many, many factors. Watch the impact of preference, thinking or feeling decision makers on making this decision. What's the most logical thing to do? Both internally logical and including different perspectives and principles for the decision. Who might you prefer to work for in this circumstance? The thinking decision maker or the feeling decision maker? I'm going to offer that you'd probably like to work for someone who is both objective, follows the rules, deeply analytical, and also someone who's going to think about the people, their feelings, and the team harmony and preservation. And that's the value of both and thinking and decision making, and that may in fact be better than either one of the preferences. So let's recap the big ideas from the functions, decisions. Here we go. So the big ideas in this lesson are these. First, we not only gather data differently. Remember, we talked about the first function, data gathering. We also focus on different aspects of decisions when we make them. And we tend to do what we prefer, our preference, genetically inherited, unless we're very conscientious about our behaviors, where we self-monitor, form an intent, and then may work against our preference to behave differently. Remember, preference isn't fate, and you can select the behavior that best suits the situation. It will use energy if it's different from your preference. That said, we learned in this lesson that thinking, T's, decision makers, tend to use objective rules. They're super analytical, and they can be so direct from that super analytical space that they may offend people. They can be that blunt, and they may overlook how people feel. Feeling, F decision makers tend to use subjective rules and personal values in making decisions. They focus on maintaining group harmony via their values and their awareness of other people's feelings. They, on the other hand, may overlook thoughts and may prioritize harmony at some personal expense.
Hey there, did you enjoy that lesson as much as I did? If you did, go ahead and give us a like. If you want to see another one, go ahead and subscribe. And if you have any questions or comments, put them below and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Moreover, is there somebody in your life who really needs this lesson right now? If so, go ahead and share it with them. I'm sure they'll appreciate it. Now, we look forward to seeing you in the next lesson where you can learn even more from the University of Maryland Project Management Center for Excellence. Thanks so much.